the nerve channel that starts at the right nostril is called Pingala, and the one for the left nostril is called Ida. Pingala runs like this, the Ida runs like this, and then it runs all the way to the along the spinal column to the end of the bone. Okay, um, which is your base chakra. Have you heard of chakras? Okay, so that that connects to the base chakra, and there these two nerves merge to form a third channel, which is called Sushumna. This is the central energy channel. Okay, so I'm going to give the whole highlight, like macro view of what we will be doing in breath work and meditation, and the stages through which we will get there, and then we will get into the practice, so you kind of know the destination before you start the journey. So that is your right channel, which is Pingala now, that starts at the beginning of the nose over here, and then the left channel, which is called the Ida, which absorbs the lunar energy, that also starts here, and then they curve through the chakra systems, and then they go and meet at the base chakra, okay, by the cervix, perineum, and then they merge to form the third channel, which runs all the way from the base chakra to the head, the crown chakra. Okay, and so you can understand that, and when these two flow evenly, only then prana energy is generated. Prana is the human electricity that we spoke about yesterday. That is generated when they both negative and positive charges meet, it is formed. So then, if they run to the base, and at this spot, when they merge, they then rise up through the central channel and go all the way up to the head. So which means that the body gets the prana energy as it's distributed through the chakra channels, chakra centers. Chakras are energy centers in the body, and energy centers mean not like some mystical energy, it's a nerve junction. There are 72,000 nerves in the body distributed across the 7 chakras, 7 energy centers. And so what the chakra does is it basically takes the energy and distributes to the organs in the body that it supports. So for example, the solar plexus supports all the digestive functions in the body, so it produces prana to all the organs. Okay? So if there is any blockages in the nerve channels, that's how we start to experience physical problems in the body. So if all the energy is flowing, everything will work pretty fine. But if there are blocks, then some of the organs will not work. Okay, so the prana energy is traveling up from here, and it goes to all the different chakras, and through that it's distributed to the body, and then what is remaining goes to the head. Okay, the brain. So the yogi hack, I would say, is that why should this go all the way down and then go to the head? Why not we send this straight to the head? Because if both are flowing evenly, the energy is formed right here, the nasopharynx. So why should it drop down to the base and then rise up? Why not just take it up from the nasopharynx into the brain? And here is said an energy called Kundalini. Have you heard of Kundalini energy? You have heard. It's an energy that is that powers the whole existence of us. Okay, it's the condensed form of the most powerful energy in the body. And the Kundalini energy, it is said that when you're born, it is in the head, in the in the head. And as the Kundalini starts to descend, each organ of the body to where it descends starts to develop. Okay, and you can then understand that in the babies, the first thing that starts to develop is the brain. Okay, and as the Kundalini descends, the eyesight starts to develop, sense of smell starts to develop, it reaches the throat chakra, speech starts to develop, and then the Kundalini starts to descend down. It gets to the heart chakra, emotions start to form and develop and mature, and it descends down to the solar plexus. Digestion starts to develop, and the babies are able to eat solid food. Okay, and then it starts to descend down, they hit puberty, and then it descends down further to the base chakra, and that's when we start to feel the need for being grounded, insecurity, and all those things, and we start this life running around. And so Kundalini is basically then stuck over here. All the desires, everything comes, and it keeps, so it's mentally locked at this point. Hello everyone. I got some follow-up question to explain what do I mean by Kundalini is mentally locked. So the Kundalini is not down at the Muladhara chakra because you are standing straight up. It is because of your physical structure, which means if you stand upside down, then the Kundalini should go to the head, right? It doesn't work like that. Creation has descended the Kundalini to the Muladhara chakra because that is where it is most needed to live this life. It gives you the energy to run around, fulfill desires, have ambitions, and all those things. It powers that engine. Okay. The moment you have no desires, then there is no need for the Kundalini to be down there. So it automatically starts to rise up. Okay. All these exercises, breathing techniques, physical exercises, are only to clear the Sushumna channel. So when you're ready to embark on that journey, then the channel is clear for the Kundalini to rise. Okay. And many people speak about detachment, which is basically a forced detachment. I'm not going to have this because attachment creates misery. I'm not going to have this. I'm going to kill this desire. That detachment only creates conflict. Okay. So it is still mentally locked because there is one side of the brain that is wanting all these desires. The other side says, no, I want the Kundalini to go up. So I'm not. So that is living in conflict. This detachment automatically happens when awareness starts to set in and you see what is truth, what is reality. It's a very natural process which takes mental maturity, and that is where the Vaasi yoga comes in, that powers your brain to and gives you that clarity. So that is what I mean by mentally locked. It's not a physical lock. Okay. Thank you. Enjoy the video. Okay, it's not a physical lock, it is a mental lock. As long as there is desires, as long as this need for groundingness and everything, Kundalini will stay descended over here. So what the yogi does in his life journey to attain the state of enlightenment and all that, he reverses the flow of Kundalini and raising it from the base all the way to the head. Okay, that is the process. And when it hits there, he is enlightened. Okay, then he doesn't, and you will also see the stages of a yogi's evolution. How it happens is like, he is, so when he's powering the brain, it gets all that maturity. He starts seeing the truth clearly. He starts to see what is reality and what is truth. Hmm? And when he sees the truth, then he says, all these things that I'm attached to and I'm running around is just an illusion. It's just my brain attaching to this, and that is creating all this motion. But it's never going to give me the satisfaction and the center and the peace that I look for, because this is all an illusion. So he outgrows that. And the outgrowing is just like without pain, just like how you outgrew your childhood toys. You outgrew it, you gave it to someone, you didn't have any pain because you matured out of it. There was a biological change in the body that created a psychological change, and you outgrew it. Same way, the yogi starts to see everything else, just like how you felt like these toys don't mean anything to me. I moved on for something higher. Same thing, the yogi sees everything in this world as a toy that he is outgrown, and it is not going to give him the containment that he needs, the satisfaction he needs, and he outgrows that. As he matures out of that and he already feels grounded, the Kundalini is unlocked from this layer. It's no longer has a job here, and it starts to rise. And then when the yogi says that, okay, like, then he conquers sexual desire. He says, I don't even need this to reach my point. Okay. And so they will practice celibacy, and yogis practice celibacy. It's not that they practice celibacy and so the rises. He outgrows sexual desires, and automatically Kundalini is unlocked from this chakra. It rises up. Then the yogi starts to see that he can get prana from breath, he can get prana from everywhere. It doesn't have to be through food. He cuts down his food because if you need to break down the food in the stomach, you need fire. Okay, to break down the heat you need. He no longer needs that heat because he's not going to be consuming food like how we consume food. So he cuts down his food, fire is reduced, he starts eating light food, no food, Kundalini rises up. So all these things, and then he conquers his emotions, fluctuations of emotions, everything. He stays in a state of content. Kundalini rises up. Then he stops speaking. There's no need to communicate verbally anything because all the communication happens at a vibrational level. There is no need for a speech level communication. And he stops talking. He goes up and he goes into a state called samadhi. And we don't have to go that high in samadhi and stuff. It's a totally different practice. But even if we can go 1%, we can increase our brain capacity to 1% of what the yogis were able to do. We can live this life pretty comfortably and with content. So, but the process of sending the prana up to the brain, the hardware, where all this decision structure processing, everything starts to happen, where the mind is so active and how we perceive and all those things, because everything what we live right now is reality, not truth. It's reality. Your reality, I live my reality, she lives her reality. So how does the brain start to see the truth and not? So for that, the most important thing is to power the brain with prana energy, which is the human electricity. Hmm? That is the practice of Vaasi Yoga. That is why it is the holy grail of yogic practices. Vaasi Yoga is to send the prana directly to the head. And when the prana is sent to the head, it's almost like this. You're sitting in a room, and it's a dark room, and you think that you don't have any wiggle space. You feel so tight because you don't know what's here because it's so pitch dark. And then you turn the dimmer, you brighten the light a little bit with the dimmer, and you see, oh, I'm in a 5 by 5 room, so I can move. When you like, oh my god, I got furniture, I can go sit, I can do this, I can do that. It's a bigger room. And you brighten it more, brighten it more. Soon you see you're sitting inside a palace. It's not the 2 by 2 space that you're seeing. So what happened is how you start shining light on things and you start to see more. Okay. Same thing, when the prana goes into the head, more of the prana goes into the head, it starts activating your neuronal network, rewires your brain, and you start to see more and more and more. You start to see the truth of things and not the reality of things. So that is the whole practice. In that meditation, state aha moments, all those things come into that, which you're going to break it down very scientifically in terms of brain waves, what happens in the brain, what does the breath do, and this path of navigating from the nasal passage up to the head, how does the prana go there? All those things we're going to see. Hmm? Okay. Any questions? I'm that good. Okay.